Okay, MIS, Chapter 1, Part 4. And at this point, we want to talk about competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage provides a significant and ideally long-term benefit to a company over its competition. And typically, what you want competitive advantage to result in is higher quality products, better customer service, and lower costs. There are there's quite a few different strategies to gain competitive advantage. And they're cost leadership, differentiation, niche strategies, altering the industry, creating new products and services, improving existing product lines, growth in sales, first to market, customizing products and services, hiring the best people, and innovation. So let's start talking, and I think innovation is just below the frame of the picture. But let's talk about competitive advantage. And let's think about Walmart. So we have Walmart and Kmart and Shopko and all of these other companies that are these Target, that are these big box stores. Now, how does one company gain an advantage over the other? So in the beginning, Kmart and Walmart and Shopko just sold goods. Okay. Now they all have about an even market, and this is an example, and we go back and take a look at the market shares at any given time. But let's use this as an example without historically going back and looking at that information. Now, so Walmart, Kmart, Shopko have the same market share. How does Walmart gain an advantage? Well, one of the things they might do is create a tire department. With that tire department, Kmart and Shopko, neither one have tires. So now people are coming in, getting their tires fixed, and shopping. Okay, so they're improving existing product lines or customizing products and services. Okay, and they also might be altering the industry structure a little bit because none of these big box stores had a tire department. Okay, so Kmart, they just sit and do nothing, and Shopko goes and does this same tire department. Okay, so now Shopko and Walmart are now on a level playing field, if you will. What's Walmart do? They need to go back in and gain competitive advantage once again. So at this point, they put in the grocery store, the grocery area, and the vision center. Well, Shopko puts in the vision center, but they don't put in the grocery store part. Now, with all of these services, you can just walk into Walmart and do all of your business right in that store. Okay, so with that, Walmart has then gained competitive advantage over its competitors and has become one of the largest companies in the world, as they are. So that's pretty interesting, and that's a result of competitive advantage. Now, again, some of the strategies that Walmart may have used is cost leadership. So with cost leadership, what you're doing is decreasing the cost of products below that of your competitors. If you decrease the cost of those products, people are going to come and buy your stuff, because people are typically price conscious. So if you can buy in enough quantity, you can also afford to drop those prices. Okay, so Walmart has used a cost leadership strategy to gain competitive advantage. Now, I think as well, let's talk about, I want to change the subject to Apple. Think about Apple and think about niche strategies to gain competitive advantage. Now, Apple has several really niche markets, and I don't know if I'd call those niches anymore. But the iPad used to be kind of a niche. Apple was well ahead of the competition at one point in time in the tablet market. Now, Apple's released new products while the rest of the market has caught up, but there are several products that are fairly competitive with them. Now, with that said, though, with the iPad, let's think about first to market. They weren't necessarily first to market, but certainly the biggest and best within that market. I remember buying a convertible notebook, which is really a tablet, clear back around 2000 before the iPad was developed. So, and I think that was an Acer. So that idea was out there, but Apple also used, and so I would say Apple was nearly the first to market, and they may not have been completely, certainly first to market with that trimmed down version of an iPad. And then they used a lot of innovation to actually make that product, to improve upon that particular type of product. The what I really wanted to go to was the Apple TV. There's currently an Apple box out there that you can plug into a TV or a projector, and that's all well and fine. That provides internet kinds of services over the TV. And some of this stuff has been out there already, so don't get me wrong with that. But as I read a month or two ago, I believe Apple is going to integrate that Apple TV box right directly into TVs and then sell the whole unit. Okay, well, that's a niche strategy. They're going to get into this niche of providing internet-based TVs. Yes, there have been some out there, but with Apple's innovation, and they can probably make that work. Now, also with that same example, you'll probably have you're creating a new product or service. In this case, a new product. And in some cases, you may be improving existing product lines with some spin-offs of that. They're basically going to be the first to market, at least first to market of any sizable company. And then, again, it contains a lot of innovation. So with that example, Apple is using a lot of strategies to gain competitive advantage. And once again, not to beat the point to death, but to beat the point to death, competitive advantage provides significant and ideally long-term benefit to a company over its competition. So think about some businesses in your area, the business that you work at. How can they gain, through an information system, let's think about that specifically, competitive advantage over its competition? Now, the next piece is Porter's 5 Forces model, and this is a business thing, okay? But it helps you understand what moves industry to do different things, and what moves industry to integrate information systems into their businesses, because that's the focus that we want to have. Now, so as Porter says, an industry is influenced by 5 forces. So an industry is influenced by rivalry among existing competitors. Think about Intel and AMD. There's an intensity of competition, intensity of competitive rivalry is a major determinant of the competitiveness of the industry. When you think about Intel and AMD, AMD is struggling to keep up. Intel just keeps moving forward. Those are the two rivals, the competitors within that industry for the most part. And that's kind of the desktop, notebook, microprocessor development industry. Now, an industry is influenced by the threat of new entrants. Okay, so profitable markets yielding high returns attract new firms. So if you can get into a business that you're going to make a lot of money, well, you're going to, aren't you? Even if it costs you something to get there. Now there's some barriers. There's to entry of new entrants into a business. The existence of barriers to entry are patents, rights, copyright issues, and so on and so forth. Costs, capital requirements. Now think about if I wanted to start a new microprocessor company. I have a great idea. I've got some engineers that can help me build this. How much does it cost to get into this microcomputer or this central processing unit industry? It costs you hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of dollars. So that barrier, that capital requirement barrier, is enough to keep a lot of competitors out of that business. Let's see, we have threat of substitute products and services, relative price performance of substitute, okay, buyer switching costs. So an industry is influenced by the threat of substitute products and services. When we talk about buyer switching costs, let's think about the student information system. There are a handful, but there are several different kinds of student information systems. PeopleSoft has one of those. Banner has another. And that company, I think maybe now called SunGard, it used to be SCT, that company that has Banner has been bought and sold several times over the last 10 years probably. But with PeopleSoft, now we're going back. We're using Banner. How much money would it cost us to purchase in PeopleSoft, do all the retraining, move all the data, and do all of those things to go from one system to another? Okay, so threat of substitute products and services, that buyer switching cost is going to be very, very high. Therefore, within that particular market, there really isn't a lot of threat of substitute products and services. Okay, now compare that to a pair of tires, Michelin to Bridgestone. Okay, now what is the switching cost, the buyer switching cost there? It's virtually the same. So there's other issues that go into that. Let's see, bargaining power of buyers, the ability of customers to put the firm under pressure. I think what I want to talk about more is bargaining power of suppliers. So suppliers of raw materials, and again, let me read this fully. An industry is influenced by bargaining power of suppliers. Suppliers of raw materials, components, labor, and services, such as expertise, can be a source of power over the firm when there are few substitutes. Think about gas and oil producers. Okay, the oil producers, the OPEC countries, for instance, are suppliers to America's power system. So what happens when we may receive less imported oil? Well, that industry, that gas industry, is influenced by that power or that supplier problem. And I know it says bargaining power, but issues with suppliers is affected by that or influenced by that significantly. Now, when we speak about bargaining power of suppliers, when we can think about perhaps well, let's just leave it at that. It's 12 minutes, so let's leave it at that. So consider Porter's 5 forces model just from a business perspective. And then what I want you to do at this point is recall those and remember that an industry is influenced by those 5 forces. I'm going to move right down to here. So with all that said, how does the information system affect rivalry among existing competitors, threat of new entrants, threat of substitute products and services, bargaining power of buyers, and bargaining power of suppliers? Now, let's just talk about one of those initially. Rivalry among existing customers. And I've kind of alluded to these sorts of examples. We talk about HP and Dell. There's a rivalry there. So Dell goes and incorporates or implements a new information system that ties all of its suppliers and buyers and distributors together. It runs more, that new system runs more efficiently. Dell can then lower costs of its PCs below that HP can offer. And now Dell has gained a competitive advantage over HP. Okay, so with each one of those areas, how does the information system affect the threat of new entrants, substitute products and services? Okay, so just consider that, and then finally, how can competitive advantage be created? And again, think about those 5 forces. Rivalry among existing competitors, we talked about Dell and HP. So think about the other areas and just consider that. So I need to complete this video under 15 minutes. I'll leave it at that. And this has been we've talked about competitive advantage. We've talked about Porter's 5 forces. And then we've considered what that means in light of the information system. Okay, thank you.